Hello and welcome back to another episode of You Want to Do What. Today we've got Adam Pearce on, who is the CEO of Blend Commerce. Hi, Adam.
Hi Daniel, how you doing?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very good, thanks.
This one's a bit short notice, guys, so bear with me. But Adam, do you want to tell everyone a bit about what you do?
Yeah, sure. So my title is CEO of Blend Commerce, and basically what that means is that I essentially head up a company called Blend Commerce that is a Shopify agency. So we work 100% with entrepreneurs and people that own businesses that work off the Shopify platform. And that can range anything from clothing brands to food brands to children's magazines. Really, the kind of list is endless. And I'm sure a lot of your listeners would have probably heard of Gymshark, of
Mm.
Tesla, Kylie Cosmetics. All of those brands also use Shopify. So there's a big range of different types of brands that use it. But predominantly, we are working with those kind of brands that are doing somewhere in the region of probably £1 million to £3 million a year in revenue. And what we do is help them with not only their Shopify store, but also marketing it. And a lot of the marketing that we do with clients is helping them with their email marketing strategy, with their SMS and text marketing, and really just making sure they've got all they need to help run that digital side of their business.
Very interesting, very, very modern. It's not something that was around, 5, 10 years ago, maybe.
No, absolutely. And to honestly, Danny, I think this is one of the reasons I absolutely love working in this industry because, if you've ever worked in an industry like I had prior to this, where you've got maybe people that have been there for 20, 30, 40 years, you kind of sometimes get this sort of, old boys club mentality. And there just isn't that within this space because it is so new. And I think the second thing is that it's also moving very, very quickly.
Mm.
So what was happening kind of 2 years ago really now is so out of date that, even if you're going to try and rest in your laurels for saying, well, look, I know this stuff 2 years ago, it's really not going to be relevant now because things are changing, at a record speed.
Shopify seems to be everywhere at the moment. There's a lot of people or people that just start businesses by themselves and seem to make an absolute, a fortune in want for better words. And it's just amazing what people can do by leveraging things like social media, like you say, email. And it really is possible to sort of create your own brand now, isn't it? And actually do well.
No, absolutely. And I think, that's the nice thing about Shopify. I mentioned Gymshark earlier on. When you think about Ben Francis there, he essentially started off printing T-shirts in his garage. He got a Shopify site, put it together himself, started selling, a few products through it. And then obviously, the key thing for him was the social media side. But there are a lot of great stories of really sort of strong brands that, we all know and love now. Think about Allbirds, who have been massively popular as well,
Mm.
who all had these very kind of humble beginnings. And I think the nice thing is, for Shopify is that, yes, it does cater for those huge, huge brands. But, if you and I wanted to just go and start a Shopify store now, we could probably get up and running in about an hour's time. So
Wow.
it really does enable people that have always kind of said, look, I really wish that I could, have my business, or I really wish that I could design this product and sell it. It really is there for the taking to be able to stand up and do something like that.
So what you're working in now sounds very, very interesting and very cool. But where does this all start? What were your interests? What did you study? Did you go to university? How did this all begin for you?
Yeah, so really, for me, when I was at school, my main focus was always around business, a business and economics, and I kind of studied GCSE business, studied GCSE economics, and just really got this kind of buzz for kind of business and the economy, and
Mm.
it all for me, kind of started in terms of entrepreneurship. When I was a kid, we used to live in a garden that had lots of apple trees, and each summer I would pick them and then go and sit on the side of the road and try and sell bags of them. And I think, that was kind of where I got I guess, sort of my passion for business from. But sort of after school, I then went on to university and I studied a degree called International Business, Finance and Economics. So a bit of a mouthful, but really was kind of, again, specializing in mainly kind of on the business side of things, a little bit of economics thrown in. And I was always kind of obsessed from probably about 16, 17 of being a management consultant. I thought it was going to be this really flashy, really well paid, glamorous job. And I applied numerous times for an internship, got rejected. When I actually, just before I was going to graduate, I applied for a graduate role. and I got it, and I was over the moon. Like, I thought that I literally had made it at that point. And I always remember kind of, being about 3 months in and thinking, look, I thought I was going to be flying business class to New York and wearing a flashy suit. And the reality was, look, you have to start at the bottom. And, I remember pretty much one of my first projects, I was sat in the back office of the London Stock Exchange testing code. So it was a little bit detached from the kind of, the Armani suits and long business lunches that I think I had in my mind. So I did that for about 3 years. And I realized, look, I want to do something different, and I want to actually go and do something where, like a lot of people say, make a difference. But I think it was just the fact that I was just bored, really bored, and I wasn't feeling like I was actually doing anything meaningful. And actually, when I was at university, I went and did Camp America. So I went to work on a kids camp for probably about 2 months, I think it was. And at that time, I thought about teaching, but, so I think at the time, and probably to a certain extent, some graduates now, you think, look, when I get out of university, I want to earn as much money as I can, and that's going to be my primary goal. And I'd kind of put that to the back of my mind. And that was sort of the spark that made me want to teach. And I retrained as a teacher, did my PGCE, much, to the bemusement of all my kind of city friends who were kind of thinking, look, what are you doing? You're leaving a great job, you're leaving the city. And I was just like, yeah, I'm over it. Yeah. And I had a great time. The first kind of, the training period was great, felt really fulfilled. My first year of teaching was a local school, and I loved it. And again, I was teaching economics and business. And I kind of felt like, I'd finally found my groove, sort of 3 years at being at Accenture. I never really felt like I fitted in, and I'd sort of, I guess, become sort of part of the furniture, but with teaching it kind of did. And I went to actually teach abroad. I moved out to Dubai with my partner, my mum and now wife. And that was a very interesting experience. And I think, if anyone listening has ever, worked in the public sector and then gone to the private sector in terms of teaching, there is a big difference in terms of how schools are run. And I really didn't like the way that, I was having meetings about the profitability of the students that are in my class. It was just a very odd conversation to be having.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to fit with what you'd think as a teacher, right? Your priorities anyway.
No, not at all. And I think after that, it sort of, we came back from Dubai, and I started teaching again. And like a lot of people, I think 1 in 3 of us now, I actually suffered with quite severe mental health issues. And I had a pretty significant breakdown that was all kind of based around depression. And, it took me kind of about 3 months to sort of get my head straight. But I kind of said to myself, look, I missed the kind of corporate aspect of what I was doing in teaching, but I still want to do something where I feel like I'm having some kind of impact. And I was really lucky at the time because educational software and educational apps were booming. And I actually got a job as a business development director with a company that was an education app provider. So when I was there, sort of really kind of fell in love with the sales side, with the marketing side. And I then went to work for one of their competitors as a marketing director. So I kind of, I'd learned social media, I'd learned, Facebook ads, email marketing, all that kind of stuff. And it was great, but there was always this kind of nagging thing. And I guess, when I was a kid, I was selling apples on the side of the road in the school holidays. It was that thing of, I always wanted to start my own business. And my now business partner, he had said to me, look, I've started doing something different myself, because he was a quantity surveyor and he wanted to get out of it, and he started to teach himself code. And he was like, look, there's a thing called Shopify. It's massive in the States. It's going to be huge. And I was just like, yeah, I'm not sure. And, it took about 3 months, and I started seeing more stuff in the press. I started hearing about brands that were using it. And, we did a bit of research, and there was no one at the time who was kind of saying, look, as a business, we can help you get up and running with Shopify, but also help you with actually get up and running with your marketing. And it seems a bit odd now because there are a lot of agencies out there that do this, but Sort of 5 or 6 years ago, that wasn't really the case. And one night, as a lot of good, I think, business ideas start, a few too many beers or on a barbecue.
Yes.
And that was it. We had a meeting the next day. A month later, I'd handed my notice in. And a month after that, we got up and running. And I remember closing our first ever deal was actually with a guy based in LA. And obviously because of the time difference, we were just, basically kind of staying up all night for him to accept this proposal. And we basically drove to a local McDonald's at 3:00 in the morning and bought a Big Mac meal and celebrated that way. So again, the rock and roll life of an entrepreneur.
Yes. I mean, what a great sort of twist and turns to your career and so many different skill sets. It's a great example of, you don't necessarily have to know what you want to do. You're just kind of following your gut, if you like, and it'll take you where you're meant to be in the end.
Definitely. And I think if anyone listening, is like me, that is in the mid-30s, if you've got parents from the same generation I have, they still, I think, have this mentality of, look, a job is for life.
Yeah.
And I think it's quite difficult, when you're growing up, because you're brought up with those kind of values and those morals. And then when you realize, that the world that we live in now is completely not aligned with that at all. And you start thinking about, look, what do I really want to do? It takes time to convince yourself that to kind of have the balls to go, well, look, you know what, I'm going to scrap this career. And a lot of time, people go, look, well, I've just spent, 15, 20, 30 grand on a degree, and I've gone and done this. But why does that matter? Because ultimately, if you're going to be miserable doing the same thing again and again for 10, 20 years, as some of my very good friends are, and just moaning about it all weekend and then numbing the pain with alcohol, what is the point? I'd rather take a pay cut and then go and do something that I actually want to do. Because you just realise you get older that it's the most important thing to be happy and content.
I couldn't agree with you more. I had a very similar sort of realization. I was in the city for 5 years as an insurance broker, and I just found myself every day sort of moaning about what I was doing. And you're kind of like, well, why am I doing this? The money's good and stuff, but there's much more to life than just chasing the money. And if you actually do what you love, not all the time, but a lot of the time, the money does come.
Definitely. And I think that's the thing, because whatever you're going to do, you're absolutely right, is that the more that you love it, the more you're going to do well. And ultimately, whatever kind of job you're doing, you're providing a service to someone in some capacity, or you're dealing with people, whether you're selling, whether you are providing a service, whether you're a doctor, whatever it is you're going to be doing. And I think, look, if people see that you've got that enjoyment, they're going to enjoy receiving that service from you, and you're going to be better at what you do. So I couldn't agree more. It's going to be blatantly obvious if you are enjoying what you're doing, and then obviously if you're doing a great job with it, then like I say, you're going to succeed. So yeah, massively agree.
And I think it's having the confidence to, like you said, you jumped into the world of marketing and you learn Facebook ads and all of that and social media, which actually is very complicated now. It's not as straightforward as it used to be. There's a lot more to it. So it's having the confidence to do that. And then, you've gone and started your own business. You've got your business partner who knows the coding side. But that's a big gamble as well.
Yeah, look, I think it is. But, my other side of things is that, look, if, let's say, for example, we started the business and it gone completely wrong, the worst case scenario that is going to happen is that I would then apply for a job that was similar to the one I did before. And I've had this conversation with, quite a few of my friends who have said to me, look, I really wish I could just go and do what you guys did and just say, screw it, and, kind of start again. And I said, well, look, just go and do it, because ultimately, like, if I think about now, if someone comes to us as a company and says, look, I was, let's say, for example, an email marketing manager.
Yeah.
And they leave that role, and it says on the CV they spent 6 or 12 months trying to set up their own children's clothing brand, for example, or maybe they try and set up a nursery, whatever it might be. If they come to me and say, look, I tried this, I gave it a go, it didn't quite work out, and I realised actually I want to come back into this world. Well, from my point of view, they've got the skills that they need. And secondly, it shows me that they're willing to actually put their neck on the line, which means that, they're going to be actually a great employee. So I think it's always that thing of like people think, look, well, if I go and try and do my own thing or do something different, doesn't work, what are people going to think of me, or will I be able to get the job? And the reality is your skills and experience are never going to go away. So that's always been my thing with people. Look, just give it a go. If it doesn't work, go back to what you're doing before. In my mind, it is that simple.
Yes. I think it's just having the guts to do it, isn't it? It seems like such a massive step, and you think about it for a long, long time. I know I did. I probably delayed it for way longer than I should have. But once you do it, it's initially very scary, but it's so rewarding afterwards, because you're like, okay, I've done that. Like, okay, what else can I do now? Certainly, that was how I felt.
No, I agree, and I think look, you have to be sensible with it, because look, if you've got children, or if you've got kind of a family that needs support, then you've got to put that into consideration. But I think ultimately, if you can sit down and say, look, what is the minimum that I need to be earning and living off for this period of time? If that means that you need to go do a part-time job at the same time, or do some freelancing work, which now is more easy to come by than ever before with things like Upwork and Freelancer. If you're in kind of the sort of tertiary sector, then you can do that. And it's just, yes, you might have to trade off a little bit. Perhaps if you do have more financial commitments that you need to meet, but ultimately it's got to be better than not doing it at all and actually having a go and then kind of doing some part-time work on the side. So I think you're right. It's got to be considered, but at the same time, if you can make sure you covered on that basic level, then you got to go for it.
Yeah, I love that. And I want to take the opportunity now, actually, to, as you're, the CEO of a company who's got a mix of marketing and development in it, let's talk a bit about what you're looking for when you're hiring people, both within the marketing side and the development side. So what can people do if they want to get into this world of digital marketing, if you like, to stand out and to be someone that you look at a CV or however you find them to go, that's the person I want to come and work for me?
Yeah, fantastic question. So I think the main thing for us is that, when we're looking for someone to come and work with us, and it doesn't really matter what field or what position they're applying for, there's two key things that we want to find out. One is that, why do you specifically want to come and work at Blend? There is a lot of information on the internet about Blend in terms of what we do, who we are, how we work. You can look at all our social media. You can see the kind of company that we are. And if someone turns around and says, look, you know what? I absolutely loved that LinkedIn post you did about blah, or, I saw that you guys did this event with your team. And that's the kind of thing we want, because the team environment that we've got is very important. And the fact that people want to be part of that, it's not just they want to come work for an agency. The worst thing someone can say to me, in an interview is, well, I really want to work for a Shopify agency. And it's kind of like, well, but why? Why else? You got to make us feel a little bit special, I think is the first thing. But I think the second thing, is that the other thing that we look for with people who definitely want to learn and want to progress. So we've actually hired a lot of people who have had very limited experience in marketing and also limited experience in things like, for example, account management, but have kind of come from a different world or industry where they've got a lot of great transferable skills, but they're also looking for a change. And we've actually hired a lot of great people who I would say are the not in betweeners, it's because I don't want the connotations of the TV program, but just one of those people that are looking to make a change in their career, not a massive derivation from it, but are looking for a different challenge. And I think that is always something that's massively appealing to us, because we always find with those people that they're not coming into that role with any kind of preconceived ideas of what it's going to be like. They come in actually quite open and quite, I guess, malleable to that role. But equally, they've got the drive and they've got the core skills that they need to be successful in it. So I would say, some of our most successful staff that we have at the moment, particularly on the marketing, account management side and kind of strategic side of the business, are not actually digital marketers at all. They're not people that from this world, but they've got all of those skills that go with it. And I think, on the development side, there are a lot of development jobs out there. Look, it's one of the most in-demand things at the moment, web developers. And the variation in salaries is huge.
Yes.
Us as an employer, We pay somewhere, I would say, around the middle. And I think, sometimes when we get people applying to work with us, there is sometimes a bit of a mentality of, okay, well, I'm going to come in, I'm going to do my development, I'm going to go home, because there's a lot of people that have been freelancing and get used to that. And I understand that because, look, there is a lot of money to be made freelancing as a developer, but we want people who are going to come in and, yes, do great work, but also are going to be coming up with solutions for clients. Because, yes, you think about development, you think automatically about code, you think probably about, sitting there in front of the laptop all day. But when we're actually coming up with ideas for the brands that we work with, our developers are saying, well, look, what about if we did this? What about if we created this on site? So it's those people who can also say, yeah, from a technical point of view, I've got the skills, but they're also thinking kind of commercially about, from a customer or a client's point of view, what are the things that are going to turn the needle for them as a company? And that's, really, really important.
We've actually been sort of talking about web development quite a lot on the podcast recently. We've done sort of 3 or 4 full stack developers, and they've been super interesting. And my mind's blown about the whole world of software development, to be honest, that just how big and how in demand it is as a skill set. And we've had people on who've done degrees, but we've also had people who've done things like no code camp and just online courses to learn development. And do you have a preference, or is, as long as people are good at what they do you mind how they get to where they are?
We couldn't care less. We really could not care less if they've got a degree, if they haven't, because the way that we basically assess people is that we give them essentially kind of a short test, which usually lasts for about an hour and a half. And what we do in that time is that we kind of have a task in there that tests a lot of different coding skills. What we're looking for is not only, okay, do you have a particular strength in one language? But secondly, what are the things that you prioritize in that time you've got? Because what we're giving there really is a task that should take about 4.5 hours. Right. But what we're doing is saying, look, if you're in that situation, what are you going to do first? What's most important? And we ask them to tell us why they chose to do the things that they did, because that for us kind of shows us that commercial awareness side. And, we've got people in our company that have got master's degrees in computer science. We've also got people in our company that have got geography degrees who are absolutely fantastic developers. We've actually got people who have not been to university at all, self-taught coders from the age of 12 years old. And we've also got developers who were in, so we've got 2 developers, one that was in sales, and another one that was basically working in a family business that were learning code just with online courses, going on Udemy, buying different courses, and have developed a language skill off the back of that in terms of a coding language. So, like I say, for us, there is, frankly, I could not care less about a degree. And that's,
I love that you say that. I always go on about this on the podcast. I don't have a degree myself, but a lot of my friends do, and peers do, and they're not doing anything that relates to their degree whatsoever. No. They had a great time at uni, and they spent 3 or 4 years, down the pub, enjoying themselves, meeting people, great. But really, I don't see the value now in a degree. Okay, if you want to be a doctor or you want to go on and do, science or something like that, it is probably a good thing to do. But if you just want to go out and start working, I don't think really you need it anymore.
No, I agree, and I think, look, like you say, it's about what people's personal preferences are. But for me now, university it's not the enabler that it used to be maybe 10 or 15 years ago for the majority of professionals. Like you say, if you want to be, a dentist or a doctor, or within that kind of medical world, then yes, I agree, you would, and probably I imagine too, kind of in the engineering space, perhaps you probably might need a degree for some companies. But I think there are a lot of industries now where ultimately, because I think, companies like us, there are a lot of small businesses, and we don't have the time or capacity to be able to train people up from scratch. So if we're kind of, in a situation where we have 2 candidates applying for a role, let's say one of them has done an apprenticeship where they've been kind of working and sort of studying at the same time.
Yeah.
And we've got another candidate, who has just finished a 3-year degree in marketing. pretty much, unless there is going to be some fantastic thing they've been doing on the side of their degree, we're going to choose the person with the apprenticeship, because they're the ones who are going to rock up to the interview and say, oh yeah, there was this time when actually I was running this marketing campaign a year ago and blah, blah, blah happened. And then I had to do this as a result of it. Ultimately, if you've been doing a degree for that time, you're not going to come with that experience. And
I
all
love
we're
that.
looking for,
Such a good point.
I think that's the thing. It's people have got to make it, you've got to make it easy as possible in that interview for people like me to sit there and go, right, I can imagine you coming on in 2 or 3 weeks' time with a little bit of introduction and then get going. Because, training is costly to a company. And we have I think we have a really good learning culture in terms of our company. We have a lot of people who are doing additional courses that are being paid for. We've got people doing, kind of coaching with different people that we work with. But in terms of, those basic entry level skills, we don't really have the time to be able to train people on that. I wish that we did, because it would be great, if we were a huge company could do that. But as a company of, sort of 15 people, we haven't got the bodies on the ground to be able to do it. So that's why, I say that with someone that's gone out and done, work experience, has worked directly and gone in and just done it themselves, has done an apprenticeship, it's always beneficial over just having that degree.
Yeah, I love that you said that. That's exactly how I feel about the whole world of careers now. We had a great young guy who came on, and he's now a producer for sort of YouTube, and he does stuff with BT, and a presenter as well. And I think he said something like, the gatekeepers have kind of lost their power now with learning things. You can jump online, even YouTube. You can go on YouTube and you can literally learn a subject on YouTube. So there's just, okay, some degrees, like we say, are worth it. But now, if you really want to, and like you say, go and get apprenticeship, learn on the side, show willing, and actually show practical skills.
Exactly. And I think that's it. It's because the more examples that you think you can give in an interview where you've either been in a particular situation or you've read about something, or you're able to explain something to someone in an interview. Again, that is just another great thing for an employer to go, right, I can see this person is good at learning, researching, has got some relevant experience. And I've done this myself, when I've was interviewed before, when I was doing my degree, tell us about a time when you did X.
Yes.
And, ultimately it was just, well, there was this time when I was doing a group project. There was this time when I was in the, university football team. And like, I'm not knocking people for saying that, because ultimately, if those are the experiences you've had, you're looking at, you're drawing out the things that you feel are beneficial. But from a smaller business point of view that isn't employing hundreds of thousands of people each year, if you can turn and go, the thing that you need doing in your business, I've done a bit of it before, and I did this and I did it this way. It's like, okay, great.
Yeah, perfect.
I'm in.
So another thing we always talk about this on the podcast is kind of the CV problem, or the perceived CV problem. There's so many people applying for so many jobs, and all they're doing is just putting a CV in. It doesn't matter how good that CV is, it's still probably going to be one of a couple of hundred or 1,000 sometimes. But the people we've had on the podcast have approached getting jobs very differently. They will showcase their skill set, whether it be by talking about their subject matter on LinkedIn or Twitter, or creating a side project, or actually proving their skill set through something they've done themselves. Now, is that something that would really appeal to you as the CEO of a company?
Massively. So we actually employed a designer for a company probably about 12 months ago. And the way that he got his job is that one of my colleagues was actually presenting at a university to his old, basically the degree that he was part of, the new intake were there. And Woj came up to Stefan, our head of UI UX, and said, look, Stefan, I've been tracking you guys for a while. I absolutely love what you do at Blend Commerce. Here's my portfolio. If you ever need a junior designer, I'd absolutely love to come and talk to you.
Love that.
And Stefan looked through his profile and went, look, this guy's great. We interviewed him, I think, the next week, and then I think he joined us 2 weeks after. So that at the time, we weren't even thinking about that seriously about employing a designer. But it's when you get someone like that, you do not want to let them go. And it's equally, we've actually recently employed someone else in our sales team, and we got introduced to them by kind of a mutual friend about 12 months ago. And at the time, there wasn't a role there, but she wanted to have a call with us, and we spoke to on the phone, and we had a great conversation. We said, look, we can't give you a job now because there isn't anything, but now that there is, she was the first person we called, and we brought her in. But I think, for me, I've just recently been through a recruitment process, and I think there's two things. If you are going to send a CV, send a damn covering letter. I honestly, I can't tell you the amount of people. I think actually, so we had, for one role, we had 81 applicants.
Wow.
I received 2 cover letters.
So you're just going to chuck the rest away, surely, if you're not got a sense of personality that the cover letter delivers you, right?
Absolutely. And, for me, that is just for me, Kay. You've applied for this job because you're applying to a bunch of them.
Yes.
There's nothing about us that you want to work this for. So, yeah, no thanks. And like I say, one of them, was tailored. And that's one I looked at the CV at. But this person, unfortunately, didn't have the experience we'd asked from the job description. But one thing that I do a lot of is I use a program called Loom. Okay. So it's loom.com. One thing I would definitely advise people doing, if you wanted to impress me, go on to loom.com. You can record a video just of yourself saying, look, hi, I'm Adam. I'd really love to come and work at Blend. The reasons are this and this. Here's some examples on the screen of work that I've done. If you ever want to talk to me, just give me a call on this number below. And it's things like that, that you can send to people that the people will watch a video. Yeah. And the little tip that I would recommend that for people that are looking for, a new role in an industry is, if you find a company you want to work for, put their website on your computer, use Loom, and then what you'll do is you'll create a video with a little icon of you in the corner and that company's website in the background. Now, if there are any business owners as listening, if you get an email through and you see there is a video with your website on, there is no way in hell's chance you're not going to watch that video.
That is a great tip. That is really, really good. Yes, because of course you're going to watch it.
Of course, because you're going to be so inquisitive to find out what it is. And to answer you, it's a tactic that I use now from a sales point of view. I use it to update our partners. It's like if I go out to a brand and say, like, look, we want to work with you on an email, they're going to go, okay, yeah, right, fine, not even bother really opening it or just get rid of it. If I simply say, hey, Dave, here's a video for you, link in their little GIF of the video, they click on it, they're going to watch it. So, yeah, use Loom. It's a golden tool, and I think you can get it for free as well.
I think I might be using that myself. That's a great tip. So what interests me as well is the marketing world and the development world starting to sort of fuse together, and we're seeing more of these agencies pop up where a business is coming with a software issue they have, and yet it's being combined with the marketing of that. Is this an industry that is really starting to grow, and you think it's going to take off in the next few years?
Yeah, massively. And I think the thing around this, we're actually seeing this ourselves. So we work with some of our Shopify merchants on using loyalty programs, which need to be set up from a coding point of view, need to be done in a particular way. And we also obviously offer email marketing, and we also offer things like SMS marketing. So you've kind of got a mix there of these kind of different principles and ideas. But what a lot of people are saying now is that rather than looking at these at each individual silos, you're looking at it, say, along the lines of calling it, retention. So in order to retain our customers, part of that mix, yes, we need development work that's being done there, but that piece of development work with the loyalty program needs to be connected and talking to the email marketing, which needs to also be talking to the SMS marketing, which then needs to go back to the loyalty program to tell it exactly what that person has responded to. So there is a lot of stuff going on like that at the moment, whereby there is kind of more of an overlap. And I think the big sort of buzzword recently, I guess in the past 12 months, has been around this idea of personalization. And a lot of the things that go on personalization are exactly that. It is that mix of development and marketing together. So if, for example, you go to a website, a common thing at the moment is that you, Daniel, might see a different homepage that I will see. And that might be in the fact that look, I am a mad Aston Villa supporter, and for some reason, don't know why, basically I am then being targeted with Aston Villa hats and T-shirts. You might be, let's say, an Arsenal fan, for example. I don't know if you are, but you might go onto the site because there's data on you. You're then being shown Arsenal T-shirts and hats. Now, that's kind of, again, that is development, but that is using marketing metrics. And it's also with that getting you to sign up, say, to an Arsenal supporters email list and me to sign up to an Aston Villa supporters list. So there's a lot of crossover here. And I think if you can be in that position where you are kind of saying, look, I want to go into this field, but I'm not quite sure if I want to go down that kind of marketing or that development side, there really is an opportunity to kind of go in somewhere in the middle and then go and specialize in a particular area that you want to go more into.
It's so young that the industry's so young that there's a lot of room for people to grow and develop into roles that probably don't even exist right now. Sorry, mate. Sorry, continue.
No, sorry, after you.
So I think an important thing as well that nobody really talks about is progression. So, people get jobs and they're in those jobs, but for you as a CEO, what does somebody need to do to progress within their job role and within the company?
So I think the main thing is that in terms of progression is showing us that, okay, number one, are you strong at what you're doing right now? And us to basically have the confidence in you, because I think that's the main thing. When we're looking at promoting people in the business, number one, we're saying, are they confident in the things they should be doing now? But secondly, are they also a good representative of the business? Because ultimately, whether you are going to be client facing with an agency or whether you're not going to be client facing, as you progress within your role, you're going to be having some sort of element of responsibility where people are looking at you for answers, or you are then setting the tone for what other people do. And it's interesting, we had, a while back, probably sort of, 2 years back, we had a couple of members of the team who are no longer with us that although they were kind of moving towards senior positions, they weren't really kind of setting that right tone in terms of the quality of work they should be doing and their, I guess, kind of, work ethic towards the company. And what was really interesting with that is that then had immediate effect on the rest of the team and how good we were as a whole business. And it wasn't until those people left that we realized, actually, look, this has been the reason why we've been losing money on projects. This is the reason why that actually the morale of the team is so crap, because we've had people, progressing through the ranks who weren't proving to us that we should have the confidence in them. So I think that, is super important. But the other thing is that if you are wanting to progress and you feel like you're not, people that come to us and say, look, I want to do this thing. The business case for the company is this. I think it will benefit the business in this way and it will benefit me this in this way. We've actually had a couple of people who have come to us and almost given us a business proposal about why they should be promoted and what role it should be. And we've just gone, yeah, that makes sense. Because, from a very simplistic point of view, we started this business, yes, because we didn't want to work for someone else anymore. We always wanted a business, but we also want to make money, and we want the things in life that we want. And if someone can come to us and say, in your business, I will do this thing that will make the company more money, and oh, by the way, I'm also going to be much happier in what I'm doing and feel more fulfilled, and I'll stay with you, which means you don't need to go out and recruit more people. I know that sounds like a bit of a callous way of talking about it, but if you boil it down,
but that's true.
That's what it is. Exactly. So I think that's the thing. Yeah. Just be people coming to you with ideas is just a great way to get promoted.
And this is a bit more personal about yourself. How do you find it being a CEO of a business? It must be so much fun, but also a lot of stress as well.
Yeah, I think the main thing is, I think I've really kind of settled into it probably in the past, I would say 18 months. And I think, initially the problem is when we started this industry, I know we hear a lot about imposter syndrome, on various different channels. But ultimately, I think, look, well, I'm just a guy who used to be a teacher, and I'm just a guy, who used to sell software to schools. How the hell can I come in here and be talking about, leading a company about Shopify? Do I really know enough? I've been doing this for a while now, but hey, I'm not sure. And I think the thing is, like with that, is that once you kind of realize you don't need to have all the answers, but what you do need to be doing is very passionate about your company and basically fight the corner and fight the battles of your team when you're needed. That's the absolute best thing that I can do. Because look, I know zero code. People will be laughing here because look, I don't even know how to do HTML, which is the most basic form of coding that you can do. I'm useless. I'm about as technical as a box of matches. But what I can do, is that I can understand why our team are doing the things they're doing, what the benefits are that they actually generate with people, and I can also then communicate that to other people and also tell people about the way that our team works. Ultimately, that's what it is. I am the face of the company, and look, when proverbial hits the fan, I do have to sometimes get involved and take it on the chin. But at the same time, my role there is, kind of going back to them and coaching them and saying, look, what could have we done differently there? Was there a different process we could use? What have we learned from doing this way around? And, I think I can't even remember who said it, but I've heard it a few times since, is that, when you think about like leaders and CEOs and all these kind of people, all these fancy titles that don't really mean a lot, is that, you actually work for your staff. They don't work for you.
That's a good point.
I think, I've looked at it that way a lot in the past 18 months. I am there to enable our team to do the things that I need to do for our clients. So if I have that mentality of I'm there as an enabler, then actually they can do brilliant work and I can reap the benefits from it.
Yeah.
And that's all I find myself doing a lot of the time is making connections to people my team need to speak to, sitting with them in the whiteboarding room and saying, look, right, how are we going to fix a particular problem? And basically kind of facilitating it. I'm sitting there when we've got app developers talking about developing an app and they're talking about different code languages. I'm the foggiest. But, what I do know is that, look, okay, what process did you go through? Did it work? Didn't it work? What was the benefit? What disadvantages? I can help facilitate all that thing and get them to see it. And then they go, right, yeah, great, got it. We need to do this next time around. And that's it. I think it is fun. And I love obviously doing stuff like this, Dan, being on podcasts. It's great because I can come on and talk about things that I love and talk about, the business and the team that I love. But, there's, like I say, there is always going to be the kind of the nasty side to it where you do have to deal with, staffing issues. And, if things do go wrong, you've got an unhappy customer, then you are going to have to talk to them. And ultimately, the kind of the buck stops with me. But, those situations are very few and far between. The positive massively outweighs the negative.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, Adam. It's been really interesting. I love your perspective on degrees and getting in there and apprenticeships and all that. And you've given some really good tips as well. So thank you so much for taking the time to come on.
No, thank you, Daniel. It's been really good to be here. Thank you.
And where can people find you and find your company?
Yeah, sure. So I'd love to connect with anyone on LinkedIn. So it's just Adam Pierce. And you'll see there is just a picture of me with my black glasses and sort of spiky brown hair and gingerish beard. And then go and have a look at blendcommerce.com. I'd love to hear from people as well. If you are in or wanting to get into the Shopify world, if you're a developer, aspiring developer, let us know. Send me that Loom video. Tell me what you want to do. I would love to hear from you.
Brilliant. Thanks again, Adam.
Thanks, Daniel.